my father is from a typical traditional background, and from his ethnic background, the secret society of the Sande and the Poro is very important, and these are the secret societies where FGM is usually done. When we came of ages and the relatives came down to take all of us out, he stood his grounds that I will kill anyone who touched any of my daughters. So of the 5 of us, not a single one of us went through that very traditional practice. So till today, we're one of those group of girls who cannot really function well in our village setting because we are not members of those. And it wasn't because of our mother. It was because this man who should have been pushing for us to go through the process said no. So my childhood was that childhood that defied, if I may say, culture and tradition. My upbringing defied what the ordinary African, in a typical African setting, would say I went through. My father, even though a student of all of the cultural practices in schools, came and said, probably to himself, my daughter's life would be different. So where do I find myself today? Growing up in that kind of environment where someone stood up for your rights against all odds, where you were taught to fight for what you believe in, it is, I would say, a given that you would go into life, really informed about some of these things and not really backing down on some of it. In my growing up high school years, I saw myself really being angry at molestation, domestic violence, because we lived in a poor middle-class neighborhood, and those were the features of our neighborhood. Someone beating their wife, some man beating his wife, or a child being beaten, all of those things. And I can remember constantly asking my grandmother, why do they do these things? And if any of those older men sent me go and do this, it was always no, because I harbor that somewhere this is not right. Somewhere this is wrong. But I had a particular soft spot for housemaids, girls who were taken from the villages and brought into the city and were ill-treated, became my natural friends as a child. I remember probably stealing something from my own things and taking it to them, or calling them and giving them food. If you know the typical story of African children that are brought to serve, they are beaten, they wake up early, go to bed late, they eat. So those were the people that were naturally drawn to. That was how I grew up, and it has followed me till today, fortunately or unfortunately. And then it's just really kind of like grown into my advocacy life and into other things.